What if the paycheck you're depending on right now is the very thing keeping you from real freedom? Not your boss, not the economy, not inadequate timing, the paycheck itself. Here's a question nobody ever asked you growing up. What happens to your income if you stop working tomorrow? For most people, the answer arrives like a punch you didn't see coming. It stops completely, immediately, no grace period, no system to fall back on. And that single, uncomfortable fact reveals everything about the financial trap most of us were trained to walk into, with a smile, a degree, and a sense of pride. We were taught to earn. We were never taught to own. And that one missing lesson is the reason so many hardworking people end up exhausted, underpaid, and with nothing permanent to show for decades of sincere effort. But there is another way, and it doesn't require a trust fund, perfect timing, or a windfall you've been secretly hoping for. The wealthy are not working harder than you. They've built something most people haven't yet. Systems, machines, assets, things that generate value while they sleep, while they travel, while they spend Tuesdays doing whatever they want. The gap between people who struggle and people who thrive is not intelligence or discipline. It is the understanding of one deceptively simple law. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes it out. Most people spend their entire financial lives accumulating liabilities they sincerely believe are assets. The oversized mortgage that eats 30% of every paycheck. The financed car that loses value the moment it leaves the lot. The subscriptions are quietly bleeding the account every month. They confuse the appearance of wealth with the reality of it. Real wealth isn't a status symbol. It's a cash flow machine. It's the rental property depositing rent on the first of every month. The dividend stock paying your account every quarter. The digital product is selling at 2 in the morning while you're asleep. That is an asset. Everything else, no matter how impressive it looks from the outside, is expensive decoration. Now, here's where most financial advice gets it fundamentally wrong, and this part will challenge what you think you know about starting from a place of very little. You do not need money to begin building wealth. You need decisions. You need to stop treating your income like a reward to spend and start treating it like a tool to deploy. $10 a week invested consistently into something that grows will outperform $1,000 spent on anything that shrinks. That isn't motivation. That is mathematics. Compounding is the only force in finance that rewards patience more than brilliance, and it works for everyone who starts. If you've ever stared at your bank balance and felt that quiet, gnawing frustration, the sense that no matter how hard you work, you're not actually getting closer to anything, this is why. It is not a hustle problem. It is an asset problem. You are working inside a system instead of building one of your own. The shift begins with a single question you must ask before every financial decision from this point forward. Does this put money into my pocket, or does it take money out? Simple, ruthless, clarifying. When a purchase fails that test, when it drains rather than produces, it is a liability. No matter how it makes you feel, no matter what everyone else is buying. But here is the section most people skip entirely because it requires looking inward before looking outward. Your skills are already assets. You simply haven't packaged them yet. Think carefully about what you know, what you've spent years learning through jobs, failures, and hard-won experience. What feels ordinary to you but is genuinely difficult for others? The person with communication skills who could build a consulting practice. The teacher who could document their method into a course that sells 10,000 times after being recorded once. The designer who could build digital templates that generate passive revenue indefinitely. In the modern economy, knowledge isn't just power, it is leverage. And leverage is the engine of every form of lasting wealth. Your mind is the greatest factory of wealth. Ideas are the raw materials. Execution is the production line. The internet has removed every barrier that once made building income-producing assets exclusive to the privileged. You no longer need a storefront, a warehouse, a distribution network, or venture capital. A skill, a device, and consistency. A single well-produced video, a single digital product, a single online course. These assets can generate income for years after the original work was completed. You work once, you earn many times. That is not fantasy. That is the operating model of every modern self-made creator and entrepreneur. And if you're thinking right now, this all sounds right, but I genuinely don't know where I'd start, that's the exact position every builder started from. Not with a master plan, not with startup capital, with a decision to act before conditions felt perfect, because perfect conditions are a myth built to keep cautious people comfortable and stationary. Now, let's address what most people underestimate: the physical, tangible layer of real wealth, property, gold, dividend-paying stocks. These aren't antiquated relics from another century. They're the foundations that every wealthy family across every generation has stood on. Real estate doesn't just sit there appreciating. It pays you monthly, hedges against inflation, and can be inherited by the people you love. Gold doesn't make you rich overnight. It protects what you've already built when volatility and uncertainty arrive. And dividend stocks? Ownership stakes in companies serving millions of people every single day, where every transaction, every product sold, and every service delivered sends a fraction of that value directly to you. But there's a critical mistake even disciplined investors make, one that quietly dismantles everything they've worked years to build. And it has nothing to do with choosing the wrong stock. It's this: building without protecting. Wealth without structure is chaos waiting for a trigger. Legal frameworks, diversification, insurance, succession planning. These aren't luxuries for the ultra-wealthy. They are the infrastructure of permanence. The wealthy don't only earn more, they lose far less. They organize their assets with the precision of architects, not the optimism of dreamers. Wealth is not what you earn, it's what you keep, what you grow, and what you pass on. Protection isn't purely legal or financial, it's psychological. The greatest threat to your wealth is not a market correction, it is complacency. The belief that once the machine is running, the work is finished. The world evolves without waiting for permission. Technologies that created empires become obsolete. Industries that felt permanent disappear. The builders who last are the ones who stay curious, stay adaptive, and treat reinvention not as disruption, but as a competitive advantage. And here is where legacy transforms from an abstract concept into the ultimate measure of financial mastery. Real wealth is not measured by what you accumulate, it is measured by what continues to grow in your absence. The systems you build should outlive your involvement. The knowledge you document should empower the people who inherit your efforts. You are not constructing a portfolio, you are designing an ecosystem that generates freedom, opportunity, and impact long after you've stopped showing up daily. And now, the open loop from the very beginning. This entire conversation has been building towards. The paycheck was never the problem, it was the programming. The idea that trading time for money is normal, responsible, and smart. None of those adjectives are accurate. It is a system built for someone else's benefit, and the moment you see it clearly, you will never be able to unsee it. Every hour you invest in building an asset is an hour you are reclaiming your future. Every skill you package, every dollar you direct into something productive, every system you design and automate, it compounds, it builds, it pays you back, quietly, persistently, permanently. That is the distance between the person who works until there is nothing left and the person who builds something that outlives their labor. It is not intelligence, it is not privilege, it is a sequence of small, intentional choices made consistently across time until the scales tip from survival into sovereignty. You were told to get a job. Nobody told you to build a machine. Now you know the difference. People who make it to this point aren't here by accident. They are builders, and they recognize this kind of content when they find it. If something in this shifted how you see money and time, hit like and subscribe to the Book Blueprint. Every week, we distill the most powerful wealth and mindset principles from the books that actually matter, so you stop renting your time and start building systems that own it. This is where the work begins. Go back to the first line, the paycheck. Listen to it again. It hits completely differently now, doesn't it?